Chapter 2. The Dragon's Curse. Whispers in the forest. The dragon's roar faded into the night, leaving behind a ringing silence that felt heavier than sound itself. Smoke curled through the shattered doors of the chapel, its scent bitter and clinging. Cale stood frozen, sword trembling in his grip, the glow of the runes pulsing like a heartbeat in his hand. The great beast had vanished into the darkness as swiftly as it came, but the impression of its eyes, two blazing orbs of molten gold, remained seared into his mind. Mailer, leaning heavily on his staff, exhaled a shaky breath. It was testing. "U.S.," he murmured, his voice low and grave. "Mark me, Cale, that creature knows you now. It has scented the prophecy." Cale swallowed hard, trying to steady himself. Why didn't it attack? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Elder shook his head, his eyes flickering to the blade Cale still clutched. "Perhaps it waits, or perhaps it fears. Either way, you will not be safe here." The village bell rang in the distance, a frantic warning, calling Thalwood's people to their cellars and hiding places. Shouts and cries carried faintly on. The wind. Cale's chest tightened. He wanted to run to them, to help, but Miller's hand gripped his shoulder with surprising strength. "There is no time," the elder said. "You must leave the village before dawn. The dragon will return, and it will not come alone. You have to go to the forest of Alther." Cale blinked. The name alone sent a chill through him. Everyone in Thalwood knew the tales of that forest, of travelers who vanished, of whispers in the trees, of creatures older than the kingdoms themselves. It was a place shunned even by hunters and woodcutters. Mailer seemed to read his fear. Yes, the forest is dangerous, but it is also sacred. It hides what you need to survive. There are those within its heart who remember the old ways, who may help you. He turned to the table, gathering scrolls and a leather satchel. "You will take these, and the sword, of course. Never let it leave your hand, Cale. It will be your shield as much as your weapon." Cale's gaze drifted to the glowing runes. The warmth of the sword was both comforting and terrifying, like holding a caged storm. He nodded stiffly, his mind racing. "And you? What will you do?" The elder smiled faintly, though sorrow shadowed his eyes. "I will stay. Someone must. Hold the dragon's gaze long enough for you to escape. This is not the end for me, boy, but it is not yet my time to leave these people." Cale wanted to protest, to refuse, but Mailer's expression silenced him. He took the satchel and slung it over his shoulder, adjusting the sword's weight. In his hand, the chapel's candlelight flickered as a gust of wind swept through the broken doors. Whispering like a warning, Mailer placed a hand on his head, murmuring a blessing in the old tongue. "Go quickly. The forest calls." Cale slipped out through the chapel's side door, crouching low as he moved between darkened cottages. Shadows danced along the walls, cast by the flames of hastily doused torches. The villagers were hiding, their doors barred, but he could feel their fear pressing against him like a tangible thing. Every step felt like treason, like abandoning. The only home he had ever known. He reached the edge of the village, where the cobblestone paths gave way to wild grass and towering trees. The forest loomed ahead, its canopy a black silhouette against the blood-haloed moon. The air grew colder, sharper, as if the night itself resisted his passage. Cale hesitated, looking back one last time. Smoke drifted lazily over the rooftops. The bell had fallen silent. Somewhere in the distance, a single howl echoed, long and mournful. He tightened his grip on the sword, its glow dimming to a soft ember, and stepped into the shadows of the forest. The world changed the moment he crossed. Beneath the first arch of ancient trees, the sound of the wind in the open valley was replaced by a soft rustling, like whispers brushing against his ears. The air smelled of moss and rain, of something old and unchanging. The moonlight barely pierced the canopy, leaving the path ahead. Cloaked in darkness, Kale moved carefully, his boots crunching softly on leaves. He had hunted in woods before, but this was different. The forest of Alther felt alive, not merely with creatures and plants, but with something deeper. He could feel it watching him, measuring him. The whispers grew louder as he walked. At first, he thought it was his imagination, the trick of wind through branches, but soon he could distinguish words, faint and elusive. They spoke in a language he didn't know, yet somehow understood. The words curled around his thoughts like smoke. He comes, the marked one, the bearer of fire. Kale's breath quickened. He turned sharply, scanning the trees, but saw nothing. The forest was empty, yet he could not shake the sense of eyes upon him. He pressed forward, trying to focus on Mailer's instructions. Hours passed, though time felt strange here. The path, twisted and wound without end, and the deeper Kale went, the thicker the air became, as if he were wading through water. His legs ached, and the satchel weighed heavily on his shoulder. He paused to rest against a tree, glancing at the sword. Its runes flickered faintly, like distant stars. Then, a sound broke the silence, a low growl, deep and guttural, followed by the crack of a branch. Kale froze. From the shadows, two golden eyes appeared, glimmering like molten coins. The creature stepped into view, and Kale's breath caught in his throat. It was a wolf, but unlike any he had ever seen. Its fur was silver, shimmering as though dusted with frost, and its body was massive, its shoulders nearly reaching Kale's chest. The wolf's gaze was steady, intelligent, and unblinking. Kale raised the sword instinctively, its glow brightening. But the wolf did not advance. Instead, it tilted its head, ears flicking as if studying him. The whispers in the forest grew louder, swirling around Kale's mind. Chosen, marked, the curse awakens. The wolf took a step forward, and Kale tightened his grip on the sword. His heart pounded. He had faced wild animals before, but this was no mere beast. There was something ancient in its eyes, something that stirred a memory deep within him. Suddenly, the wolf let out a sharp bark, a sound that reverberated like a drumbeat through the forest and bounded away into the trees. Kale stood frozen, staring after it, the echoes of its cry lingering in the air. He took a cautious step forward, then another, and soon found himself following the wolf's path. Branches brushed against his cloak, and the whispers seemed to guide him onward until the forest opened into a clearing bathed in soft moonlight. At its center stood an ancient stone circle, weathered by time and covered in moss. The stones pulsed faintly with a soft blue light, and Kale felt the air hum with power. The wolf sat at the far edge of the circle, its eyes glowing. Watching him, Kale approached the stone slowly, awe and fear mingling within him. The whispers swelled, and for the first time, he could make out a single clear voice among them. "Welcome, child of fire." The forest has been waiting. Kale's heart raced. The runes on his sword flared brightly, casting long shadows across the clearing. The wolf rose, stepping into the circle, and bowed its head. Before Kale could react, the ground beneath him shuddered, and a crack of light split the earth at the center of the circle. From the chasm, a soft, glowing mist rose, swirling upward. Like a living thing, the air grew heavy, charged with magic. Kale stumbled back, but the voice came again. Stronger this time. "The path begins here, marked one. The curse is not yours alone to bear." The mist coalesced, forming a shape tall, robed, and faceless. A guardian spirit, ancient and powerful. Its presence filled the clearing, and Kale felt its gaze pierce into his core. Who are you?" he whispered, his voice shaking. The spirit raised an ethereal hand, pointing to the glowing sword in his grasp. The whispers stilled, and the clearing fell into a silence so deep it was almost painful. Then, The spirit spoke a single word, its voice echoing like a bell across the forest chosen.